in order to like be able to play in this space with us. And we are part of a huge nation of chapters. I've had the pleasure recently of going to visit a couple other chapters and seen that like all the communities have their own flavor and their own energy. And so if you're ever up at a different time and want to check out another community, I definitely encourage you to do so. You'll see similar things, but maybe something different, and maybe you'll bring that back and help us move forward. Our three pillars are education, presentations, and connections. There's always a presenter. We always learn because other people's coaching is just as valuable for us, right? We all need to be reminded of the fundamentals and the things that we all need to do as business owners in order to be successful, to reach our audiences, to keep going when things get tough. So we can learn from every experience here. And of course, connections, I think, is one of the most important parts, that we are not alone in the journey of entrepreneurship. And, you know, tons of folks have met with us all across the country at 1 Million Cups. I want to get us to update this slide with how many entrepreneurs we've had speak here. But I think it was like 139 or something, Tessa. Yeah. So over the last 3 years, 139 different presenters from the Seattle area and beyond. So yay. And a special thank you to many of our community sponsors who have been supporting all the different things that we do here, whether that's our email campaign, our social scheduling, our meetup page, or some coffee. So thank you to that. And our community volunteers. So there's a lot that goes into running a weekly event. I know I had no idea until I joined up as a volunteer organizer. But you know, we're the ones who are kind of stepping up and saying, here, we want to make sure that this community is always here for all of us because we have seen value. So if you have seen value in this community and you know, want to make sure that it keeps happening, please talk to us. No obligation to sign up, no minimum hourly commitment. Like, we're just happy to chat with you and learn and see how you might be able to help this community to continue to grow and thrive. So what to expect today? I mentioned that we're doing something slightly different, but you'll see I have the same slide. And that's because we're always going to start with coffee and conversation. We always have a 6-minute presentation and 20-minute Q&A. But the thing that's neat about today is that our presentation today is an education presentation. So this is something we don't do all the time here because it's not like our standard kind of stuff here at 1MC. But because education is so important as one of those three pillars, like I talked about, we know that we know that we can only get so much from seeing other people present. And sometimes we actually need like an infusion of education, an infusion of learning, you know, from an expert out there. And so we are actively thinking about how else can we help educate our community and give our community the education that we all need and crave and could benefit from. So our presenters still have the same constraints. They still have 6 minutes. But what's fun about the Q&A today is that it's going to be more about our presenter's topic and less about their presentation like style and their business, right? So it's going to be more about how do we delve deeper on the topic that they are educating us on today, okay? And I'll remind us after the presentation. And then like we always do, we're going to have some more connecting via breakout rooms after the fact. So stick around, and from there, I'll remind you that kind of how to be a supportive listener. We can always practice these kinds of concepts. And in this perspective, it's going to be less about us sharing our expertise with the presenter, but more, how can we ask a question that is more related to us specifically, you know, maybe that this presenter could help us learn more about. So that said, I'm going to stop sharing and toss it over to Josh, who is going to talk today about identity.
Yes,
give it away,
thank you,
Josh.
Katie. Appreciate it. An absolute honor to be here. So good morning, all you champions. And all right, can everyone see my screen? I will take that as a yes. Okay, awesome. So everyone take a deep breath. Look at the scene. Clarity, it's my favorite C word. All right, now buckle your seatbelts. So look, we've all been there. Our ideal prospect walks up to us at a networking event, introduces themselves, and asks us the most important business question we will ever be asked. So tell me, what do you do? and then we freeze. We stumble, we fumble, our blood pressure starts to go up. If we get anything out, it's usually the little title that's on our business card, or we vomit a comprehensive list of detailed industry jargon that no one else seems to understand except us. And our prospect smiles and nods very politely and excuses themselves to the bathroom. I know from experience, I've sent a lot of people to the bathroom. And here's what's strange to me, that we know we're going to be asked it, we know we're going to have to answer it, and yet so often we end up burning another business first impression. And look, I'm not bringing this up to make anyone feel bad. It's just sometimes these important things are also the smallest things that we do or don't do. So remember, we don't always get a second chance, just like in life. So my name is Josh Zepess, and I am the identity archaeologist. And you're probably thinking, what the heck does that mean? Well, it means I have no competition, which is kind of interesting. But really what it talks about is how I take my genius and I apply it to my product and service. And I'm on a mission. For me, honestly, it's a dagger to my heart every time I see an amazing, talented solopreneur with a heart of gold and a business of gold, unable to get the time of day from their ideal prospect because they lack the skill, or they lack the message, or they just lack the confidence to bring their humanity to their business and compel people to listen. So I want to talk today about why we struggle, and I want to share some little tips on this. So why do we struggle as solopreneurs to get folks to listen to us? Well, for one, we refuse to differentiate. Not that we can't, we just seem to have this weird aversion to it, almost like we're afraid to stand out. Maybe growing up, every inch of originality or self-belief or courage was beaten out of us, or maybe we just found it easier to just attach ourselves to someone else's brand. But many of us are business shy. Second, we don't really know what we do. Well, we kind of know in our minds, we have the image, the vision, but we have a hard time articulating it. And then sometimes, doesn't it feel like you're offering a commodity, like you're trying to sell a box of Cheerios, trying to convince people to buy from you and not the box store down the street? Boy, that's a real tough way to compete. So look, here's the crux. You might be a solopreneur, but it's crowded out there. We can't simply shout louder over the noise of a crowded industry and expect to be noticed, especially if we're saying the same thing as everyone else around us. So we have to be saying something different, yes, but we also have to be meaning something different and feeling something different. So what can we do about it? I want to talk about 3 ways that we can start to rise above the crowd and stop shouting and start shining. And then you're going to have a better idea of how I'm looking to change the world. First, you can discover your brand. So remember, a brand is just the gut feeling your prospects get the moment you walk into a room. It's what you say, and it's what you don't say, especially. The good news is you don't have to create it. You just got to let it out. Our clients, your clients, are thirsty for authenticity. That means they want to know why you care before they care what you know. So find that why and lead with it. And it starts with you. Because see, it's one thing to have your 500 business cards and your website and your logo, and all that stuff's great. But it's another thing to have the clarity as to why you get out of bed in the morning and the confidence and conviction to share it. It just takes a little digging, that's all. Second, we need to articulate the emotion. We got to take a break on verbally barfing on people about how great we are and how great our products and services are. So I want you to imagine transmitting how you feel about what you do to others. So how? Well, the best way is telepathy, right? If you got that, awesome, use it. If you don't, we got to translate into words and imagery and energy. So your pitch, your website, media, flyers, all this kind of stuff, it's got to be filled with the truth, your authenticity and your emotion. For example, when someone says, tell me about yourself, what they're really saying is, please connect with me. That's all they're saying. So instead of the unemotional, what I call yams disease, I am Josh, I am a brand strategist, I am looking for this kind of client. What if we just share what excites us that day, or what drives us, or even what pisses us off? I know it sounds crazy to be so open and honest in business, but what if vulnerability were a superpower, not a weakness? And then finally, we can create something I call a signature service. So we got to stop commoditizing our products and services, even if they're commodities. So here's your product, for example, right? Exciting, right? There's your service. What if we can add identity, passion, your genius, values, your uniqueness to it, and then create something that can't be found anywhere else? Something so rare that you can actually charge a premium for it. If you think I'm suggesting getting paid for just being you, well, yeah, you're right. That's kind of what I'm suggesting. So what's the journey like? The first step is this clarity for the solopreneur. It's getting clear on yourself so you have the confidence and conviction to share it with everyone. And it starts with something like a brand manifesto, a brand framework. Second, articulating it, creating that compelling first impression so that people are willing to sit down and actually listen to you, gets them to want to learn more. And then finally, signature service, monetizing, clarity around what we offer and taking that commodity and converting it to a unique asset. So my number one goal in everything I do, overarching, even all of this, is I want to raise the ROI on every conversation people have, because I want to get people out of the grind to sales. I'll be honest, I'm a shy, introverted, negative, skeptical engineer. I'm not a salesperson. I don't like getting into that grind. I want to connect with people. I want to do the right thing for them and make that natural connection. So thank you. I appreciate you all. It's always a pleasure to speak at 1 Million Cups. And hopefully my questions are, does what I do make sense? Did it drive any sense of curiosity? And who needs to hear this message? Who needs to hear these concepts besides every school in the country? All right, thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Josh. Great presentation. One of the previous pillars of 1MC that is not part of those 3 words I described earlier, but that I feel like is still really something infused in our community for sure, is inspiration. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I feel like that's what I felt from your presentation. And, I've got so many ideas like bouncing around now about like, how can I do better around that? And so I just want to remind everybody that like, if you've got a question, an idea, kind of a comment, this, because this is kind of more of an education presentation, this is getting all of us thinking about our own brand identity, our own, how do we communicate that mission and what we do. So, think about your questions, and I'd encourage you to raise your hand. You can use the reactions tab to click raise hand, or if you're on a computer that has a lower level of Zoom, I think it's the participants tab back in the day. You can also pop your questions in the chat. But yeah, so Ryan, you are our...
Just one note, just before Ryan jumps in, and feel free to bring your own business to this questions, if that's all right, Josh, to
yes, absolutely.
Say, well, this is how it applies to me, or what about this in regards to my business? Don't feel, and usually we don't really do that as much, but feel free to bring that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Tessa. Great ad. Yeah, so Ryan, what's your
awesome
question?
Josh, thank you. Wonderful presentation. Question is, what's the number one resistance or stumbling block, or but I can't do this because X, that you get from the business owners you talk to?
Ego. Number one thing. So that I'm on a rail against over-professionalism. I believe that is the one thing killing us in business from being authentic and just being open. So there's a lot of ego out there. So some of my clients are in the financial industry, and I need more clients. I'm trying to get more clients there, but there's so much ego that people think they have to be perfect. People think they have to have all these letters after their name and put on this facade. And cracking through that ego, letting them know it's okay to be normal. It's okay to screw up, be awkward. Like, don't be shy about your awkwardness. Embrace it and include that in your brand. Make that part of who you are, because that's what people are going to connect with, not your product or services, right? So I think ego is the biggest thing that trips people up when I approach them about the idea of just being you.
Yes. I feel like all throughout this presentation today and this conversation, I'm just going to have these hard hitting moments where I'm like, ooh, yep. Oh, okay. Yep. Nice. Zaki.
Thanks, Josh. That was great stuff. My question for you is, I spent a lot of time kind of crafting my mission for what I wanted to do. And I looked and overstudied it, as I always do. But what do you think is the best advice you can give for someone to try to create that real, authentic mission statement for their business and themselves?
Excellent question. I'm going to give you two answers to that. So the first answer, if someone has the ability to really sit quietly and really work on themselves, because a lot of folks you're too close to it. So that goes to my second part. But the first part is, I would say, if you could do it for yourself, I would start higher up. What the problem is, people start with their business and they start with their product and then they try and figure out their business. And then from their business, their life, the other way around, top down. What do you want your life to mean? I would start with the bigger purpose and then start drilling down. This way you can make sure your business purpose is authentic and in alignment with your bigger legacy purpose. So one of the first things I'll have people do, if I feel like they don't quite have a grasp on that, I'll have them write their eulogy. Their ideal eulogy. I want you to write the eulogy. I want to know who's going to show up. I want to know what they're going to say about you. What's the line of people look like? Who's going to read your eulogy? What's your legacy? What are you leaving behind? If you can define that, I'm telling you, the business stuff just falls right into place because it's either in alignment or it's not in alignment. So that's my first answer. The second answer would be, because it's so difficult to kind of see the forest and the trees, get someone that can help ask the right questions, can kind of dig some of the stuff up for you and give you that further out perspective, and then work with that person and ideate. And I know it sounds self-serving because that's what I do, but it really does help to have someone else draw that out of you instead of you fixing your own transmission. Get a mechanic and work with them and do it that way.
Yeah, great thoughts there. I feel like that's what the thing you just mentioned there at the end. I feel like that's one of the big values that people get from coming to 1 Million Cups and presenting at 1 Million Cups, because it's like, oh, I get this whole community of ideas, right? So there's lots of ways that you can kind of get that same like outside perspective. And we were talking a little bit about introversion, extroversion earlier. And so I know I'm a big fan of journaling. I find that like the brain dump kind of journaling also can really help you get that clear. And I used to only do that for myself personally, but now I've started doing that for my business. Like I've got a topic, I'm just going to brain dump about that and see what comes out. Right. So yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has this. I use Google Keep on my phone. So it's like little sticky notes and I can access it on the computer. It's in the cloud. But boy, if I'm driving, I just put on like voice recorder and I just let it all come right out and I capture it. I don't miss anything because inspiration hits once and then it's like, bye-bye.
Totally. Yep. Cool. Tessa.
Was not okay. I thought Stephanie was before me.
Oh.
Can Stephanie go? I just forgot.
Yeah, I can come back to you.
I was gonna say I don't mind, but I know 100% know that feeling.
I'm just being really polite, right? I get brownie points for that. You go.
So I guess it's not really my question. It's more about what I've experienced being in marketing and everything in general is the compliment I always get back, especially in those meetings, because we've all been there. We've all gone through it. I've had people hand me their card and say, so what do you do?
Oh, boy.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's even worse.
Yeah, it's like they're not even like connecting with you at all. And they don't care. So I'll just stand there and I'd be like waiting until they look back at me.
Have you tried the palm method? Have you tried the palm method?
No, what's
the hey, my eyes are here. That's what I would tell them, but that's just me.
But long story short, the biggest thing that I've been complimented in these kinds of situations is listening, is because a lot of people think sales, and I've heard people even pitch similar products and similar things that I've done, and I'll listen. It's like, wow, you're not even letting them talk. Like you're not even explaining it. And it becomes so much more about just, let me tell you everything right now, as opposed to actually listening. And I think that's a big part of the connection that's missing, is more of an identity actually to listen to people and absorb information. From overall, that can be from just company standing point of listening. We've seen a lot of just kind of tone deaf in that arena, as well as just in general listening one-on-one based on personal connection. So regardless of identity, if you're small, big, or large, in terms of your overall corporate or even your personal brand, it's really about listening and engaging. And I think a lot of people forget that. It's all about, how do I craft this sales message the perfect way, as opposed to just talking. And that's always, so I appreciate your presentation in that, because it's like, wow, I've heard this all before. This sounds very familiar, because I think we are in a realm as owners where we have kind of constructed a separate identity the last bit you mentioned reminded me, it's like, wow, this is 1 Million Cups is business therapy, because essentially you're talking to people about your experience, and essentially it's almost the same thing. Like, how's your life involved with this? What's it, what is it? It's not just a job. When it comes to your own business, and either a solopreneur, an owner or a company, of a corporate company, or whatever executive position you want to say, it becomes part of your identity itself. And so from all of that, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like there's a bigger circle than just, oh, what's wrong? I can't just make it think like a job. It's, again, all above, essentially. So it wasn't my
Yes.
really a super question. I was just giving a little bit of experience and saying that the presentation was great in that regard, just because.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. A couple things that you said that really, really are key. One, scripts. I don't do scripts. I do flows. And there's a huge difference. Flow is genuine. It comes out of you and it's different every time. It's a concept or an idea. It's not an exact set of words. And I do that for that reason. And then listening is so key, because really you want to keep the other person curious to learn more. And if you're going to talk and talk and talk and barf on them and verbally vomit, then they're going to make a decision like right then and there. Yep, I need you or I don't need you. But you haven't given me enough information. You can't tell someone in 20 seconds about your business and have them properly decide whether they should sit down and learn more or not. That's not possible. So I want people to have some curiosity there. Drive with curiosity. Leave people wondering a little bit to pull them in. But that requires not talking so much and listening.
Yes. Oh, great. Tessa.
So we have a quick question from Kareem, because can't speak right now, but he wants to know, how do we craft a compelling first impression, not just a first impression?
Yes. So obviously part of it is curiosity. And I'm actually, what's interesting, I'm on a mission right now. I'm helping, my initial goal was 100, but I surpassed that. So it's now 1,000,001, helping solopreneurs do exactly that, craft a compelling first impression. But let me give you the idea of it. The idea of it is, when someone asks you, what do you do? If the first thing you tell them is what you do, you're already lost, because that's not what they want to know. First thing people want to know, they want to know, please connect with me. Please let me know you understand what I'm going through. Let me empathize with me for just a second. Do you even know why I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning in a cold sweat? Do you have any idea? Because if you come at me with your product and your service and how freaking great you are, you're another salesperson. You're another coach or another consultant after my money. So there's got to be an empathy piece where you start off that shows that you understand where that person is. Then you can share what you do, not how you do, without the details, just the what, the transformation. And then you end with a nirvana. So, and by the way, I'm talking about the answer to what do you do. This is like a quick 20-second. Talk about the nirvana. Sell the beach body, not the workout. Let people know how great the sun's going to feel on their skin when they're frolicking on the beach in the best shape of their life, kind of thing. Because people know the work is involved. Like, people know that you're going to cost money. You're going to take time and resources. They're going to have to put in a lot of effort. But just for a second, let them know what would happen, what life is like if they decide to trust you and give you a chance on your service. So that's how you do a compelling initial 20 seconds. What do you do? Answer, first impression. And you can just pull them in. And then if you do it right, they should say, oh my God, that's awesome. How do you do that? And now you can set up a time to do one-on-one.
Yep. Nice. And then Tessa, did you have a thought too?
Still just chat monitoring at the same time. So Tiara can go next.
Yeah, cool. All righty. Tiara.
Hello, good morning. That was amazing. From the first second you talked, I was already hooked. So I love your presentation style. But about the topic, so for me, it took about 3 years to figure out my actual why. And so I do credit consulting. And in the beginning, it was just, the credit system is unfair. People are not educated on it, and I want to help them and make money while doing so. And then 3 years later, I figured it's more than just credit. Credit is a tool that we can use to shorten the wealth gap. And so that's kind of more of my why and why I get up. But how does someone who just finds a vehicle and their why might be very selfish, their why is freedom for their family and, generational wealth for their family. And they're just, selling clothes or something, but they found a vehicle for them, how does that inspire other people when their mission is kind of selfish? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And that's a great question, actually. So first thing I would say is, can you go even a little bit higher? Because there's always a level where we always want to do stuff for ourselves. We want to take care of our family, right? We want to make money. We want the opportunity and the freedom. But if I would challenge you, there's probably an even bigger mission or a higher level there where, and maybe instead of thinking of why, think of the term impact. What is the impact you want to make on the world, right? So if you had to provide value to the world, if you had unlimited resources, what impact would you have in the world? Because with unlimited resources, your family's taken care of. Your family's good. You don't have to worry about them. They're set for life. Now, what are you gonna do with that extra money? Extra time, extra energy, extra resource? If you can answer that question, now you can craft a little bit higher purpose, a higher value, and then that is what you start messaging. That's what you share with people. Of course, you want to take care of your family. Of course, you want to do the more immediate stuff as well. But that's not your message. It's just too low for messaging. I think you've got to go a little bit higher on it, is my guess.
Ooh, so I am gonna, oh, sorry, Tiara, did you have something to add?
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you. Thank you, Josh.
So I'm gonna address the potential elephant in the room that I don't feel like you've talked about in your presentation, and it's very real for me, and I know it's real for a lot of folks about business. I want to talk about fear and how fear plays into this being real, right? Like, I know in my business that, like, and based on who I am as a person, I can sometimes be very direct and very blunt, and I will call shit like it is. And I feel like I want to do that in my business more, but I'm also afraid to do that in my business, right? I don't want to just alienate everybody. And I know that there's all the like, you're going to alienate people who aren't for you, and like, you're going to attract the people who you love. Cool. And I need to make money. And I want to feel, especially in the kind of work that I do, like I'm personally on a mission to like essentially stop workplace trauma, stop workplace hurt. And I don't think I've ever said it like that before. So thank you for like this conversation and helping me to say that. Before I've been saying I'm on a mission to create happier, healthier workplaces. I'm like, no, I actually want to stop the hurt. So anyways, that's not precise question, but that's really, that's what I want to ask.
No, I appreciate that. And fear is huge. But fear comes usually from lack of clarity. The easy analogy is you're driving a car and it's very foggy and you can't see, you don't have clarity, you don't have vision. How fast are you going? How afraid are you to actually move the car? You're very afraid. But if you can see 50 miles down the road and you know exactly where you're going, you know why you're doing it, like all of a sudden, I'm not saying you're fearless, but you become courageous, which is just acting. Your fear is lower, but you're acting over the fear. So imagine, so one of the first things I do for folks, we create a brand manifesto, which is your constitution. It's your guiding document. It's the reason why you get out of bed in the morning. And the attitude that's required, this is the confidence and conviction I'm talking about. When you're on a mission and you're like, I'm doing this no matter what. So you said, stop the hurt. Stop the hurt. If that is really, truly important to you, if that's something like, this is going to happen one way or another. The message is, I'm doing it. Hop on the train with me. You're talking to people, right? Your prospects. Hey, yep. This is where I'm going. I just want to let you know. You want to hop on the train and join me? Great. Let's go. You want to stay at the station and hope it works out? Great. You can do that too. I still love you. But I'm doing this with or without you. Now, you don't say that in words, but you say that in brand. And when people, and here's the funny part, not funny, but here's the interesting part. People think, well, if I get too specific, I'm going to alienate people. Let me tell you something. People aren't attracted to your words anyways. What they're attracted to are people on a mission. They're attracted to people that have a stand. You know how many people just don't have a freaking stand? I'm writing a book called The Lighthouse Effect that talks about this, but there's If you had a stand, you said, this is what I stand for. And damn it, it's the right thing. I have good intentions. I'm doing the right thing. I know where I'm going. All of a sudden, that fear is not there anymore at the same level. And then people start coming towards you because they're attracted to your energy. They're attracted that you just even have a stand, even if it's not for them, even if they're not your ideal client. And there's something magical that happens, and that's called conviction. That's when your message goes from your head to your heart. And it's not, see, when it's in your head, confidence is, I got this. But when it goes to your heart, it's, I am this. And there's, I can't describe it. It's like trying to describe what a banana tastes like. You can't do that. You just got to taste a banana, right? So hopefully that helps. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
I mean, it definitely helps for sure. I think that there's so many layers to this, right? And I think that's one of the things about entrepreneurship that, you know, some of the things that like you're describing, they could sound easy to some of us, right? And they also might sound really hard to some of us. And, you know, and so I just want to acknowledge that like wherever anybody is at in this process, you know, I'm just about a year from like saying, I'm going to do this as a business owner. And I feel like I needed all of the last year to get to a place where I could say out loud to this whole group, right? Like I'm on a mission to stop workplace hurt, right? And so like, I think it does take time sometimes, right? For us to find that sense of conviction.
Yeah, and that's also the reason why what I do is one-on-one, because we need to have a safe space. It's going to be a very intimate process to pull this stuff out of folks and allow them to really express, but I can accelerate that. That's my gift. I'm able to ask the right questions and get that stuff out a lot faster than just hoping and waiting or trying to, you know, figure out on your own. So yeah, but yes, it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Totally. Yeah. Tessa, did you have a thought?
Yeah, finally. But obviously I need to say something else. Tiara just wrote, rather than 3 years on her own, like trying to work it out. Yeah, like I think everyone's gone through a version of going, oh, what the hell? Like I could have just done this. You have that conversation and then like, you're like, oh, I see it now. But I think that just keeps happening, right? As you grow and your service grows and your offering and you grow. Thanks so much, Josh, for that. Yeah, there's so much to take away. So many good reminders. No matter even if you have your own, already feel like you've got a pretty good personal brand, like there's still good reminders in there, right? To help you execute on that first meeting. I do that all the time. And I want to say, like, I resonate with the fear thing, but also, and what Eric was saying, about like, yeah, just like this going to say what you, I had the opportunity the other day to like, again, say who I am and just even who I am, right? And even who I am is hard to, you know, for me to just say. And so what I was thinking about when you were talking was a personal brand clarity. I was like, yeah, I think a big shift came for me when I was like, who I am is one thing, what my business and mission is trying to do is another thing, and who my clients are another thing. And what my offering is at the intersection of all of those. And I guess I mean this in the way that like, I have a mission that is very world encompassing. It's global, it's idealistic, it's social impact, and coming from a space of lots of social impact people, often you can get very confused and be like, oh, I want to change the world. And then you're like, so therefore my clients are everyone in the world. And you're like, that was really hard for me. I was like, I want to change it for everybody. So everybody will like, is the people I'm trying to target. And then I realized, no, like I want everyone to, like, everyone's going to be influenced by this. Yet there's a very specific group of people who are going to be able to do it through this medium, through this mechanism, through my offering. So that helped me get that intersection. And I guess that like final nut for me is that personal part of the clarity around the personal. I was like, so like you said, take a stand. Who am I in trying to do this? Like, where do I draw my lines to be able to be like, yeah. And this is some big change for me. And I don't know, Josh, if you speak about this to people, but like what happened recently is like, you're alienating people. But remember, let's be grateful. Like you said, Josh, there are so many solopreneurs out there. There's heaps of them. So if you're alienating them, someone else has got their shit covered, you know, like someone else will help them get what they need, how they need it, in the way they need it. And so I'm like doing everyone a goddamn service as well as myself to be like, here is where I stand. If you're not on this side of the line, like I'm gonna send you in this direction if that's maybe what you want. But like, and I think it helps maybe with a little bit more taking that control, taking that like that sense of like conviction, like you're saying, and being like, not only can I say no to you, but I can like say, and maybe this way for you, like you still help them. It doesn't have to be like, you're out, you're out, you're out, you're on the other side. I don't know what if you speak to people about that, Josh. With
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have so many great points there. So one of the keys is though, people have to know where you stand, because you're right. You do have to have a stand. But what I find is we're afraid to articulate it. We're afraid to let people know what that is. And that's what drives us into the sea of sameness with everyone else. Because everyone talks about their product. I'm a financial advisor. I'm a fiduciary. I'm like, wait a minute, you're a fiduciary? Oh my goodness. Do you realize half the people you're talking to have no idea what that means? And the other half already have a fiduciary, and you just basically lost the entire freaking world? Oh, congratulations. How does that feel? Like, so taking that stand and letting it out, that's the lighthouse effect, right? That's kind of like shine that freaking light. And then the ships in distress, the ones that need what that light is represents, the security, the shoreline, whatever it is, they're going to come find you. You don't need to go chasing people. So, but I appreciate you said that. And here's the other thing, that something you said triggered this, which is you have who you are or what you are. And then there's your clients and what they are, and they're different. I don't know that they necessarily have to intersect. However, you've got to take what you are, and that doesn't change because that's what you are. You decided that. You've got to translate your message into something they can understand. A lot of times we talk our own language. We forget that we're talking Spanish and they only understand Japanese. And there's a lot of confusion, communication breakdown. So part of branding is making sure the message gets translated to the person you're talking to. Because otherwise, because remember, you speak your language, ego, you're showing off. Look at me, I could speak English, hey, but the person's only speaking Spanish, that's not going to do them any good. So if you really want to have a profitable business, you want to talk, you got to talk their language.
Katie, I know we're like, I know there's a time thing and this is a quick question related to that. How, using that analogy, how far should you translate? You know, like if you, I feel like I'm worried sometimes if you twist yourself too much to translate what you're saying to someone who genuinely isn't going to get it, like, or doesn't, you're just so far away from the language that you're speaking that maybe they're not your client. I think I've done that a lot, like trying to meet every person and be like, oh, you speak this Japanese, Russian, da da da, gonna learn all those languages, and then I'm going to translate everything into all these languages. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. So real quick. So I'm not talking about translating for each individual person. What I'm saying is once you know who you want to attract, that specific person that speaks Japanese, your message goes to Japanese. You don't need to go translate that to Spanish to capture this person and change it. It's just knowing your target client, your ideal client you like to work with. And then it starts off in their language when you first meet them. The further along in the process, the more that the next time they sit down with you in the next conversation, it becomes more and more your language because you're teaching them. Then you can start, I'm not saying shy away from your language. If you're an energy healer, talk energy. But if you want to do energy healing in corporate America, do not go to corporate America and say, I'm going to heal your energy. I'm going to make you feel, I'm going to transform your energy into love. I'm telling you right now, you're going to get shut right out. Talk their language first, get them to sit down and listen to get more detail. Then go ahead and share all those details, your language and your products and services.
Thank you.
Oh man, I am so glad that we had you join us today, Josh. I think there's so much, like, I'm really excited to go back and like re-watch this.
I appreciate this, and we didn't even scratch the surface yet. It's crazy,
right?
There's
Oh
so
man,
much here.
So much great conversation we could continue to have. And we always ask our presenters though, you know, what can the Women in Cups community do for you? And I feel like this is really poignant because you've just done so much for us.
Can I share my screen? Because there is something. See if I can find it. So I'm on a mission right now. Like I think I mentioned this. Oops, there we go. And I've already passed 100, but I want to leave it open because I'm having so much fun with this. any solopreneurs out there that want to basically help, they want to create their unique, compelling first impression, the answer to what do you do? And it's different for everyone because it's a 30-minute session with me. I sit down, I ask the right questions. I get to learn more about your business than you can ever share on your own. And then you get to watch me work real time. We create your CFI. And then now you've got this business asset you can go use. I'm doing it for free. There's no sales by me at the end. It's not that purpose. I don't like operating like that. So if you know anyone, share this out. I really, it's like a public service. This is my public service. This is the way I want to give and help people do this. And yeah, it's a tiny, tiny little part of what comes out of a brand, but it's something. It's better than I'm a lawyer, you know, or I'm a life coach. So
Awesome.
I'm the person for sure.
hey, we've all been there.
Yep, we've all been
My
there.
name again?
Totally. Oh, such a great ask and a great offer. So thank you for that, Josh. I need to find my screen. It has gone away. Okay, there it is. Alrighty. So if you enjoyed today's conversation and you want to try out some of kind of what Josh was describing about really talking authentically about who you are, what you do, and how you help people, applying to present is a great way to do that because it gives you some of that time to try it out, right? And try it out and not be worried about falling on your face. I think that's one of the things that is like, we really pride ourselves on here at the Seattle community of 1 Million Cups is that like, you don't have to be ready to answer all these questions. You don't even have to have an official business model. Several of us have applied with no official business or, you know, no official product or service to offer yet. So all you need to be doing is trying something new, willing to ask for help, and that you want to learn by doing. And applying just says, I want to. It doesn't say, schedule me now, right? So we are always working a few weeks ahead, sometimes several weeks ahead. So you've got time and we will support you throughout creating your presentation if you don't have one.
And I'll just like to say real quick, if I may, that anyone who applies or who presents in Seattle, you are also welcome to present in Orlando. I am the organizer for that. So I'm happy to let you come and share with our audience too. So get the word out. Don't be a secret agent in your business.
Yeah.
Go out there and be proud of what you're doing and share it with more than just Seattle, share it with the world. So come on over to Orlando. I'll help you get situated there too.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Love that. Don't be a secret agent in your business. And don't be a secret agent in our community. If you want to help make sure that this community thrives and you've got ideas, you know, please email us at seattle@1millioncups.com. That's the best way to reach the organizing team. And we'd love to, you know, just have a conversation. No commitment if you email us. We just want to know like what you're loving about the community and how you might maybe want to help. And next week, I don't think it's actually counterweight. Nope. But we will be back again.
Slides.
We'll be back again for another.
It was my birthday last week. You've got to forgive me. I didn't get the slides updated because it was my birthday. Okay.
I didn't even realize that we had a slide that had the next presenter on it.
So advanced. Okay, sorry people, but I've created breakout rooms for everybody so that
excellent.
So that we can do
cool. So we should be all ready to rock and roll with our breakout rooms. And remember that you have a free pass to go when you are full. But, you know, encourage you to keep this conversation going. You know, could you practice sharing or trying out saying something crazy about your business that you maybe don't normally say with these folks in this safe little environment? So that said, we'll see y'all next week, hopefully. And let's pop on over to breakout rooms.
Bye.